When you were young, you were the king of carrot flowers. Which is better than me, because when I was young, I was a fucking loser. I still am. It's not as bad now, but I still am. I think I reached peak loser. So why don't... I'm a loser, babies. So why don't you kill me? I reached peak loser probably when I was about 13 or 14. And we didn't... I had friends, but we didn't go outside ever. And we played Halo 3 for about a year. It was less than ideal. But that's, you know, we're not going to dwell on the past. There's a lot of things I could have done better, you know, and I wouldn't be like I am now, which is to say, an incel. But it's too late, and you know, when it's too late, it's too late. So we can only look ahead to the future. You know, Brad Pitt allegedly didn't lose his virginity until he was in his 20s, and he's fucking Brad Pitt. So, you know, I think my prime years are ahead of me. Not that I think about sex all day. Actually, I think about motorbikes all day. Because, ladies and gentlemen, into my lap have fallen two fucking classic bits of machinery. Well, they haven't fallen into my lap. They're still in my granddad's shed. And the Ford GT is going off to explore the wilderness. And I'm here to talk to you today about my granddad's Triumph Tiger Cub and my great-granddad's James Captain. Now, Triumph, we all know about. They're a motorcycle company that we're all aware of, Triumph, I hope. Other Triumphs you may be familiar with include the 500 TA that my granddad owns and is about a week away from, well, a week in granddad time is probably a few months, but he said he just needs to sort out the timing or something to do with his distributor or what have you. I don't actually know anything about bikes yet, which is, I've never even changed my own oil, which is a story we'll get into in a minute. But you also may know Triumph from the Tripsa, which is another bike my granddad owns. The Tripsa is either a Triumph engine in a BSA frame or a BSA engine in a Triumph frame. And I can never remember which is which. But he's got a Triumph 500 TA and a Tripsa 500. The Tripsa is a scrambler, the 500 TA is actually for the road. And then, also in his garage, but taking up considerably less space, are the Tiger Cub and the Captain. James is a motorcycle manufacturer I'd literally never heard of until yesterday when I was in his garage. But obviously Triumph I'm familiar with. Yamaha I'm familiar with. Even Sinis I'm familiar with. Slash Cinque. CCM. The Yamaha and the CCM are Dad's bikes. The Cinque is mine. I call it a Sinis, because that's what it says on the petrol tank and the engine. Shit. Anyway, I've never even changed my own oil. But I bought some oil today. I went out to Halfords and I was looking at car oil because I really didn't know what I was looking for, because I've never actually been in a Halfords before. Well, I mean, that's not strictly true, but I've never actually looked around it, you know what I mean? And the guy comes over and he goes, "You're right, mate." And I said, "Yeah, you know, I'm pretending I know what I'm doing." And he says, "Yeah, I do that every day." And we had a laugh about that. And then I said, "I want to change the oil in my bike." And he said, "Well, you want to look at the motorcycle oil then, mate?" And I went, "Yeah." So he took me over to it. And then, because my Chinese bike is a bike of many names, like I've just described, it's on the engine and the petrol tank it says Sinis. On the insurance documents it says Cinque. It's also sold as something else, and I actually saw a guy riding the other version of what my bike is, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is. I mean, I'll remember it as soon as I'm done recording. Anyway, I bought some oil for about 11 quid. Proper Castrol oil, mind you. Well, I say proper Castrol oil, but I mean just Castrol oil. So I'm gonna change the oil on the bike. Another thing I need to do to my bike is put a smaller sprocket on the rear wheel, so I can do 70 miles an hour and go down any road without having to rag the shit out of my engine, which will knacker it in no time. So that's a light modification. I just need to make sure I get a sprocket that fits, and take the right amount of teeth, or links, sorry, right amount of links out the chain. But I can get my dad to help me do that. And then I'm going to be rocketing off down Frinton every weekend, because as we've ascertained, I'm a fucking loser. Sometimes I go to parties, but not very often, you know what I mean? I'll be rocketing, I can't say that phrase. I'll be riding off down to Frinton every weekend, because from literally every nut and bolt, I've got to rebuild a Triumph Tiger Cub and a James Captain, which are both 200cc bikes, but the Triumph is a 4-stroke and the James is a 2-stroke, and the James is a bit older, from the 50s I think, and then the Tiger Cub is, I don't know, 1960, 1961 maybe. Tiger Cub is it's for scrambling. Great Granddad's James Captain was adapted for trials and scrambling. Well, I mean, what passed for trials back in the day. Definitely not, you know, hopping over cars and stuff like it is now. Their trials was more ride up a muddy hill and then ford a river and, you know, go around the tree and come back. That kind of thing. But yeah, I can gonna have to try and get some lights and signals for the Captain, and I want to put it back on the road. I think that'd be nice, because, you know, my granddad lives up in Frinton, and that's on the coast, so I can ride me great granddad's old James down the seafront. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Very picturesque. And my dad put the engine for it back together about 20 years ago, so I only have to do the, you know, the frame and the suspension and that kind of business. Put the wheels on it, basically. It's not got a James engine. It's got a Willys, but it's the same capacity. You know, still a 2-stroke. I'm going to have to learn about these things. I can't be talking about them before I've even touched them. You know what I mean? And then the Tiger Cub, I'm probably going to keep to be a scrambler, because I go to the Pre-65 Motocross Club scrambles whenever they're on anyway, to be a marshal. Earn about 25-30 quid for standing out and getting sunburned for, you know, 4 or 5 hours. I'd rather race, to be honest, than be a marshal, as I expect just about anyone would. But like I said, I've never even changed my own oil, and both of them bikes, except for one engine, have been stripped down every nut and bolt. And before I can even start work on getting them put back together, I need to adapt my bike to be able to drive down the I don't want to go down the A12. No one wants to fucking go down the A12. I have to go down the other A road, but even that will be a bit iffy on a 125, so got to sort out my sprocket. that type of business. And then I'll really be in business, putting some bikes together. Might make some, might put some videos together about them on the old Vidley channel. I don't know. I'm going to start off with changing my oil, then changing my sprocket, and then jump straight into putting a 50, 60-year-old motorbike back together. How hard can it be? So we're talking about motorbikes now. Talked quite extensively about motorbikes. Well, the only thing is that Grandad has the Haynes manual for the Triumph, but it only has the owner's handbook for the James, so it might be a little bit difficult to put it back together every nut and bolt if I don't have a guide that covers every nut and bolt. I'm sure we can work it out. Then I'll really be in business. And I'm going to make my start, my debut, if you will, in off-road racing in October. In the chair of Dad's sidecar, the Yamaha. Then I can really know what it's like to feel pain. I've been making a bit of an effort to get myself more or less semi in shape. To get ready for being a passenger on a sidecar, because it's hard work. Or so I hear. I haven't done them yet today. I really need to do them. I've got some weights. I dug out some weights. So I'm doing some lifting, you know. They're not very heavy, but I've got little toothpick arms, so. You know, they get heavy after I've lifted them up a few times. Doing some push-ups, you know, a couple of sit-ups maybe. Really doing the bare minimum, you know. And then I'm gonna fucking throw myself all around on the third wheel attached to a motorbike. That's why I've never really understood the phrase, you know, being a third wheel, because I've grown up around motorbikes that have 3 wheels, and you know, being a third wheel is just an invitation for 2 people to also come along, if you will, if we're thinking about it in sidecar terms. That was. Alright, remind me never to say that again. Because that was retarded. That was stupid. You don't get this anymore. You don't get this anymore. You don't get this anymore when it comes to racing games. You don't get the variety of environments, do you? I mean, we would start the episode. I'm driving, you know, around a port full of fancy yachts, and then up a private road through some big fancy houses. Then I was driving through some fucking ancient temple ruins out in the jungle, and now I'm driving through an abandoned Wild West town with a great big dam built near it. You don't get this, you know, in the desert. You don't get this fucking changing in environment in racing games anymore. It's all, you know, racetrack A and racetrack B and racetrack Australia and this, that and the other. Which is, I guess, is alright for more realistic racing games, but you got to remember that fucking arcade racing games don't get made anymore, really. You don't get anything like this. Which is a shame, because it means that pretty much no racing games get released anymore. and the ones that do are all the same thing. If you go back, this game is 2002, 2003. If you go back and look at the racing games on the PS2 and the original Xbox, they're all over the place. You got the realistic ones, you got your Enthusiast and Gran Turismo, and you, I don't know, Forza maybe. You got your ones that are somewhere in the middle between being simulators and racing games. Toka Race Driver, Burnout. Well, no, Burnout was full arcade. But you know what I mean. There used to be huge variety in racing games, and you just don't see it anymore. Because you don't see racing games anymore. Because you don't see a variety of games anymore. They're all the same. Really, aren't they? Anyway, the point is, modern games don't interest me. Even though I'm supposed to be in the, I don't know, I'm a tiny bit older than the demographic that brand new video games target. But I'm still in there somewhere. I'm supposed to be, aren't I?
You win.
But because when I was a little kid, and we didn't have much disposable income, well, we do now. Of course, as soon as I grow up, we've got plenty of disposable income. Buy me a motorbike, send my sisters to fucking dancing lessons every weekend. But when I was little, and my dad worked for British Gas, grew up on a PS2, and now I'm fucking stuck to it, emotionally and physically. Not lit. Anyway, next week I'm going to do some more off-road racing.